I almost did that myself. I
I
almost
call
did
to
it.
order this regular meeting of the Township Committee of the Township of Morris this Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. The time is now 7 p.m. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, and adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required by law. Specifically, notice of this meeting was emailed to the Daily Record and the Morris News Beat on January 4th, 2024, and posted on the Township of Morris website. The agenda and resolutions for the meeting are available at morristwp.com under Agenda Center. Certain portions of this meeting may be closed to the public for the purpose of personnel and/or other matters as outlined in the Sunshine Law. Notice to members of the governing body and township staff: any use of electronic devices during this meeting shall be used solely for the purposes of township business, and any communications are subject to the Open Public Records Act. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Grayzel.
Here.
Mr. Gyorfy.
Here.
Mr. Ravitz.
Here.
Mr. Jonnada.
Here.
Mayor Guariglia.
Here. Will everybody please rise if you can to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just before we begin, I'm going to make a short statement that I'd like to, as mayor. Political violence has no place in our country and our communities. We cannot allow it in our political process. We are grateful President Trump is okay. We are heartbroken for the victim of the attack, firefighter Corey Comparator, and we will keep him and his family in our thoughts. This violence also shows us that we as a country must come together to ensure the safety of all of our community members, each and every one of them. We must remember that we must remember that the strength of our democracy lies in our ability to accept varied viewpoints while we continue to value the humanity in each other. To remind each other that we are Americans before and over any political label. We must choose unity and mutual respect as the foundation of our political and social discourse. We must rise above our conflicts and focus on what unites us. May grace, strength, and dignity guide America forward. Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from April 17th, 2024, closed and regular session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There are currently 0 members of the public joining us on Zoom. At this time, we will open the public meeting to comment. We will take comments from in-person attendees first, and then we'll switch over to Zoom. Please virtually raise your hand in Zoom if you would like to speak. Please state your name and address for the record before speaking. Please note the comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. If you have questions you would like answered, your remaining time to speak will be yielded back for this purpose. Is there a motion to open the public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any members from the public who would like to speak?
Mayor, I move that we close public inquiry.
Mayor, there's a hand raised.
Wait,
Oh, there is a hand raised?
it's just Marlene Memmer?
Yes, good evening, all. Yes,
I'm Marlene.
hello, everyone. Marlene Memmer, 63 Independence Way. This evening, I just want to address a few comments in regard to Resolution 18224 and installation of synthetic turf at Ginty Field. I want to bring to your attention an article that I remember reading from a conservation report on the subject in 2023. And there was a subsequent updated report on this issue this past month. And I'd like to read some of the things that were included in this article. It had to do with synthetic turf. And basically it's, let me just read some parts of this. Synthetic turf fields have a large greenhouse gas footprint due to their fossil fuel ingredients and the methane greenhouse gas emissions as it breaks down. Testing has also revealed the presence of per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, which are PFAs, which is also known as forever chemicals in these products, which was something that I didn't even realize until reading this. The article goes on to say that the PFA chemicals that build up in the environment and are very harmful for our health, especially to children. The heat island effect on turf fields is especially dangerous. On clear, warm temperatures on these synthetic fields surpass 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So I just wanted to bring those comments to your attention. And I agree with the article in that we need to invest in, and it goes on to say, we need to invest in natural play surfaces on sports fields and playgrounds instead. Natural turf fields reduce the stormwater runoff, are cooler, safer, and overall more sustainable than synthetic turf. I just wanted to bring that particular issue to your attention this evening.
Thank you, Marlene.
Mrs. Member, it's Tim Quinn here. Just for clarification, this is not for a turf field. This is a small amount of turf that's part of a batting cage replacement project. So all it is replacing what was there. We are upgrading the batting cages over at Ginty Field.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Quinn, for that. I had read that. I did not know what a batting cage was, so I'm glad for that clarification. And that leads me to, field the question to you regarding what is our normal procedure for the surfaces of our athletic fields. What do we normally use on them?
We have a cleaning that they are somewhat like a vacuum that they are cleaned by our park staff.
No, I'm not talking about this. Since I'm talking now about our regular fields, do we adhere to a grass field in all our locations?
We only have one turf field, right? The corner.
Right. Yeah, we have one turf field. It's a multi-purpose field up at Cornine, and all of the other fields are natural grass.
They are natural grass. And so I know there was a resident that was inquiring about Collinsville. And these folks over there have been waiting a long time for their field and areas to, be rehabilitated and everything. So can they be assured of the fact that we will be going to the natural turf fields on that project also?
Tucker Field will remain a grass field.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. That was my comments for this evening. Thank you all.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands raised on Zoom, is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have two presentations on our agenda tonight. First, we're going to have Valerie Dolan from
Nissabacha.
Nissabacha present the 2023 audit. Welcome, Valerie.
Do you want to take the seat here? Yeah.
Let us know if it's too hot.
This one's too hot. I get to
No,
sit.
the seat.
seat
No,
is
yeah, I
hot.
mean, it's your preference where if
No,
you'd rather
this is
sit.
fine.
Is that good? Okay.
Yeah, as long as you can hear me, it's good. So I have to.
Yes, you're fine.
I'm fine.
The green light is on. You're good to go.
Perfect. Okay.
I got it.
Now that we're all technically set up, okay. I just want to say once again, So I'm Valerie Dolan with Nisavacia. We are the independent auditors hired by the township to complete your annual audit. And it was a pleasure, as always, to complete the audit. Your finance department does a spectacular job and always have to be completely prepared for us and are very accommodating while we are here. A few financial highlights that I do want to go over from this year's audit. Fund balance in the current fund was about a little over $12 million, which is actually an increase of about $1 million from where you were last year. However, you did anticipate more of that fund balance to support your 24 budget. So the additional fund balance is helping you through 24. You actually have a tax collection rate of 99.39%. It's a pretty darn almost near perfect collection rate. So that's to be commended. Your fund balance in your sewer utility, on the other hand, is down $1.9 million. However, by design, you used an additional $1.9 million in 23 for capital. So it came down exactly what you were expecting it to come down. The pool utilities continuing to remain pretty much flat. Its operations are basically starting to rebound from the pandemic. Your parking utility, as we all know, is not the one that's probably mostly not rebounding. It's getting by. You are about $50,000 lower than you were in fund balance the year before. During the pandemic, you did pass 2 COVID emergencies for those utilities, and those utilities were fully funded and paid back during 2023. You do have a debt picture that I'll give you a bit of information. You have a little over $21 million in your general capital debt. It's comprised of a little over $10 million in serial bonds and about $11 million worth of bond anticipation notes, which are short-term notes that get renewed each year. Your sewer utility has about $7.5 million in debt, of which 4.8 is in bonds, and another 2.7 is an infrastructure loan that will be being paid back. Your pool capital is about $2.3 million, which is also comprised of $1.2 million in bonds and another $1 million in notes. Your parking lot debt is down to $35,000, which is now officially paid off in 24. So the end of this year, parking lot should be debt-free. I am happy to report that the audit is a clean audit with no formal recommendations, which means other than accepting the audit, there is no required corrective action plan in the report or required by the committee. We do have a few suggestions to management. We feel those are the more important things. Those are the areas that are future coming areas we see that improvement can be made, but they're not the level of any type of corrective action required. It's more to bring some information. The first one is there's a new standard. I love to sit in front of everybody and tell you I'm going to change the way I report things again. So we have a new standard coming. That standard is for next year is under the area of compensated absences and the accrued liability. We have to show it a little differently in the reports going forward. In the past, we just tracked that liability. We will have to assess a probability to that liability now in addition. So basically, instead of just doing the calculation, you'll have to look at the history of the township and say people and assign some probability to basically bring that liability. So if you have people who are 1 to 5 years, the likelihood of them retiring and receiving that is different than someone who's been here for 30. So they're asking you to apply some probability to the number. Federal funding, as you always have federal funding, and we're still in the area. Yes, we've spent all of our COVID funding. However, feds can always come back in the next couple of years. While that money is still out and available, they can always come in and do an audit. You do have some older capital ordinances. It's always been a policy of the township to review those annually and cancel the older ones. So we're just saying stay on that path and continue to cancel. And then the last one, which I'm sure you're all aware of, is you're a member of the Garden State Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. That fund is struggling, and they are going to reassess some additional assessments. When you're a member of a joint insurance fund, it's really great when they're doing well, but when they have to go back and look at the old years for claims, there is a potential for an additional liability through the additional assessments. Fortunately, Morris Township is very, very good and very conservative that you have always kind of hedged your bets on the joint insurance fund and put money aside every year just in case that would happen. So that money that you set aside will probably be tapped into in the coming year, 2 years, but it won't have an impact to the residents because you have been diligently putting money aside for that potential. I want to say thank you for the township for having us conduct the audit, and I am open to questions.
Anybody have any questions? I just want to say, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did. See,
It was on.
you had mentioned that the sewer utility collected $1.6 million less. Is that
No,
what you're
your fund balance is down $1.9 million, but you used $1.9 million of surplus in the 23 budget for capital. So you basically, your surplus came down from where it was at about $4 million and it's down to about $2 million. But when you developed and adopted your 23 budget, your capital went from a normal $1.6 million to almost $4 million. You utilize your surplus for capital projects.
Jeff, we also had that clarifier project that was unanticipated, so that was an emergency appropriation
Emergencies.
for that, and then adding in the second clarifier to do that. So that was a big part of
That was the
why
big
we
part
went
of your
down. And
project.
then with COVID and office buildings, we've seen a decline in the collection on the commercial side for that, because not as much, it's based on water consumption, and not as much water has been being used by many of the office buildings. And we also service the office buildings in Marsh Plains too, so which get billed out directly by us.
Yes.
Those are very two important points of clarification.
Clarifications.
so-
Yep. Nope.
So
That's
No
perfect.
pun, no pun intended.
A fluid is still gold.
So as part of your analysis also, was the rate that we're collecting at for residential? I'm wondering, we haven't raised the rate in a while. I'm not saying we're going to raise the rate. Did you make an analysis if
We
we're
don't.
currently charging?
We look at what you're currently charging based on consumption and do tests to make sure you're charging at that rate. We have
No,
not
not the-
projected out your rates to future. That would be a separate rate study is what it's called. It's a rate study where you look at all of your rates and you look at your pending future budgets and make sure that the rates that are charged are going to be enough to support the operations. That's a separate engagement.
Okay,
So-
but based on what you saw this year and the collections that we had, and not given the extraordinary
You had some
circumstances.
extraordinary
We had
circumstances.
some extraordinary circumstances. Does it appear that we're collecting at the appropriate rate?
You are a little bit low. So if you, you're probably, if you budgeted, you budgeted sewer use about $6.3 million and you brought in about 5.9. And that really is the side of the commercial that Tim explained, that your sewer rate is based off of water consumption. You have less water consumption in the commercial buildings. The commercial billing on sewer is on a lower end. So you had about a shortfall of about $375,000 in revenue from what was anticipated.
But we also, Tim, have a bunch of new connections in the pipe, right?
We
So
do,
to speak.
yes,
Yeah.
we do. And we'll be
That'll help.
seeing additional revenue coming in with some of these developments that will be built, and what we've worked out with another development that's outside of Marsh Township, but we are obligated to continue taking the effluent, and we're going to see a fairly significant increase in the amount of effluent that we're going to receive.
Okay. And I had one other question for now. Just the opening page, actually, of the audit is the comparative balance sheet. It says regulatory basis.
Yes.
And this is not my forte, the accounting of it. So walk me through what a comparative balance sheet, but what a balance sheet is, because I'm looking at the bottom line numbers, where there's a $2 million approximately difference between the 2 years, and what caused that from a balance sheet perspective. It was 24,654,000 in 2022 and
biggest swing.
22,501,000.
Yep.
So that what caused that? Well, first of all, what is the balance sheet supposed to reflect? And then what's being reflected here?
I mean, when you look at your balance sheet, so under a regulatory basis, you basically are recognizing, obviously, revenue at cash levels. You are not recognizing them. There's not an accrual on those revenues. You don't get the benefit of the revenue if you don't physically receive the cash. So that's why it's a unique regulatory basis. It's New Jersey. The change mostly in your balance sheet and why you see that structure really falls because under the current fund, you also report all your grants. Grants fluctuate so significantly year to year, and you're coming out of the biggest piece of your grant money that was in the audit as of last year was your American Rescue money, which was spent. So you saw that money going out this year, and that was, so the grant monies actually were the swing of a little, almost $2 million. So that part of your balance sheet. On the current side, the swing was a little bit less, but it really is in the sense of what types of payables. You had less payable, you had some less payables, you had some additional, your receivables are down because you have a higher tax collection rate. So because you collected more cash, it's on the fund balance side versus being in the receivable side. And the other piece that's the bigger swing is in the area of prepaid taxes. Prepaid taxes was, as of December 22, you had almost $1 million, $900,000 in prepaid taxes. You only had about $600,000 this year. Those are just taxes that come in. People pay their taxes ahead of the game. And so those numbers swing. So the balance sheet can fluctuate in an audit on that basis. But I think your biggest swing when you're looking at 24 versus 22, it's the grant money. That was $2.2 million and is only about $800,000 in the balance sheet side for the current year.
Okay.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Sure thing.
Any other questions, Mark?
I'll just make some comments. Thank you, Mayor. Just first off, I just want to thank Valerie and Savachi for the partnership, as always, working with our team as our auditing auditors. Thank you, Sean and Tim and this whole team for putting together the budget every year, as always. I just want to note, and I know we talked about this last year too, just wanted to reiterate to the residents watching or the recording in the future is that American Rescue Plan funding, unlike a lot of municipalities in the state, we use strictly for capital projects, a one-time funding project as opposed to plugging holes. And we're still seeing municipalities across the state raising their municipal tax rates significantly, over 10% still, because they use this money in 2021, 2022 to fill their budget gaps and try to protect their residents for tax increases that were going to be inevitable. And they were just kicking the can down the road. The residents are suffering because of it. And I'm glad that this board, in the past, in years past, when we had this money ready to go, we were diligent in what we were using it for. So we weren't going to be burdened with that additional cost in these years.
Correct.
So I just wanted to comment on that. I know that's what Ms. Abaccia,
Yep.
recommended to us from the get-go. That's what our professionals were recommending, and the town's better for it. And it was already mentioned before, Collinsville shovels will be in the ground within weeks, and that was a major project that we're funding for.
Correct.
So, but just wanted to comment and remind residents about that.
Thank you, Committeeman Gyorfy.
If I just on reference to the added assessment that we're looking at with the Garden State JIP.
Yep.
I anticipate formal action to be taken next week at the Joint Insurance Fund meeting.
Okay.
And then I will have an explanation letter and going out with the additional information as to how that is assessment. But we've always put away extra funds in anticipation of added assessment. So the good thing is we tap into that. We don't have to raise it in future municipal budgets to do that. It's going to be over a 10-year period, and that's money's already kind of tucked away.
We tucked it away.
Tucked away, so it doesn't have an adverse impact in future budgets.
Great. Again, Ms. Dolan, thank you so much for your
Anytime.
excellent work. And to Sean Ferguson, our CFO, his department, Tim Quinn, and everybody here. Just
Thank you very much.
That's all
you
good.
do such an excellent job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you. In just a minute, I'm going to call up, we're going to have our Transportation Advisory Committee annual report, but I would like to welcome our intern in the back of the room from the Morris News Feed. I met Andrew this afternoon and he said he would be here, so welcome to our meeting. At this time, we would like to welcome the Transportation Advisory Committee, Jim Hunt, who wrote the report for 2023, the TAC annual report, and Andy Feldman, if you'd like to also come forward, you're welcome.
I've got TJ to come up.
Oh, and DJ Kerner, who is also on.
You can all come up if you want.
Everybody gets recognized.
It takes a team to do work, so.
Absolutely.
Taking the mics?
Whoever's going to
Which mic
speak,
should I do?
either that mic or we have to turn this mic on.
You go over there. Well, thank you. I was chair last year, which is why I've prepared the report. We've started a tradition where the chair of the year reports the annual report, and then the chair, Andy, next year, as chair of this year, will presumably do the report next year. So that's why I'm giving the report now. DJ was vice chair last year, continues as vice chair. And last year we had a lot of fun, a lot of work, and we think some good accomplishments for a committee that's about 3 years old or so. Couldn't have happened without the commitment that the Township Committee made a long time ago to look forward. A lot of what we're doing, I think, is focused not on today only, but on what can happen in the future. And that's important, so important, I think, as we move forward with transportation. That becomes even more critical as we move forward with new kinds of e-scooters and bikes and all kinds of things that are going to be on our roads. The road space is limited. The variety of ways to get about on the road space continues to proliferate. So it's part of what we've tried to do in anticipation of the future. What I'd like to do is the report's up on the screen for those who are looking perhaps here with us at home. Largely, I'll go through the report page by page, and please kick in, guys, if you have something that you want to add. I do want to mention that last year we had as our committee representatives, Commander Grayzel and the mayor, and this year Siva is with us in the Transportation Advisory Committee, and valuable contributions as well on their support, as well as the township professionals with Tim Quinn and all the others who help engage in the activities that TAC is charged to do under the township ordinances. Running through the folks who are on the committee, it's Rick By, David Wilson, and Betty Simmons, Christina Ruggieri, Stephen Drozdow, Andy, of course, and DJ.
Well, page forward. Right?
Please, page forward. There, here we are. Okay.
This is the right page.
No, we'll skip over this page. I've kind of summarized that.
Next page.
One more. There are pictures throughout here of some of the activities. This is the bike rodeo when we were at. Let's forward another page and go to the accomplishments, projects and accomplishments. What I just gave you is somewhat of a summary of those kinds of things. One of the major things we did, and happily it's continuing this year, was Morris Township in Motion. Those of you who have participated in the event, I hope you enjoyed it. We had at this year's version of Morris Township in Motion a record turnout for the Normandy Park Walk. I think we had almost 30 people at Morris Township in Motion. And it was with the support of the Township Committee that we were able to take what might have been a single event, as many places do, which is to take May as Bike Month and turn it into something that says, let's get out, let's be active, let's explore the township, let's look at the neighborhoods, and talk about ways you can reach those neighborhoods, perhaps not using a car. Because car-free movement, activity of any kind, is not only healthy, but it's also good for civic engagement and so many other activities that we do. Along the way, I think residents have begun to find that there are places in the township they never knew existed. Certainly, I think some of us, at least for me, there were places in the years I've been around that I had not been to. So there are great ways for the township to get out and to suggest that you don't always have to use a car to get to those places along the way. We had 7 neighborhood park walks at Fairchild, Jockey Hollow Top, Jones Woods, Collinsville, twice, Ebony Green Cemetery, a walk on Lewanika for seniors, 2 bicycle rides. We had some prizes that we gave away for some of those Morris Township in Motion's events. And our professionals supported the publicizing of those events so we could get the word out to people. And the committee was kind enough to pass a resolution approving Morris Township in Motion. So that was one of the major things. We did conduct a survey as a result of the Morris Township in Motion events to continue to gather information. The role I think that we really try to play is to reach out and listen. And many times for people to dip in and tell you is hard, at least for many citizens in the town. But if we reach out and try and listen a little bit, we gather some more information. I think we've been able to do that with some of the work that we've been doing. The discussions on many of these Morris Township in Motion walks have been rich discussions about things that have been going on in the township and with transportation.
Next page.
Please. That community outreach I was just talking about, here it is, okay, included a sign, as you see, that was put together. Tim and his staff helped us get that together. We wanted to get methods to utilize more of their input and make sure they had that opportunity to ask questions. So in that regard, we also, in addition to the motion events, had an information table at the Winter's Farmers Market to answer questions about TAC and the New Jersey Safe Passing Law, which is new to a lot of people. We got regular updates on township transportation projects, police education enforcement actions, recreational activities from the township professionals. Worked with the Tim to create a TAC banner, as I mentioned, and increased the materials linked to the TAC tab on the township website, and mapped EV charging stations in the township, explored the use of mapping for other mobility support, such as parking lots, bicycle parking, low-speed road bicycle routes, and trail connections to the road network. All the activities I'm mentioning, by the way, are continuing this year with TAC, building out and building on what we did last year. Next page, please. We call this connection gap audits. There's sidewalks that aren't plugged. There's a sidewalk and then not a sidewalk. There are bike lanes that, or places where bicycles may ride where suddenly it runs out. There are mass transit gaps in the township. We have the routes. We don't necessarily have the directions or the way to support people who might want to use mass transit. Of course, we're all familiar with the CONVENE train station, but there's also the bus routes that run through the township that some of our citizens make use of, and that we've been exploring a lot. Andy's been taking a lead on the bus shelters, and I think TJ, you've been involved in that as well, have you not? Yeah. Okay. The audit of the sidewalks was conducted by our mayor and our administrator and our engineer, and identified 14 gaps that could be added to the mapping considered for funding on a priority basis, and the bus routes, as I mentioned. I must say, by the way, that the sidewalk, I hope everybody's walked the sidewalk along Sussex. Everybody been there? It's just such a terrific addition, as is the, I don't know when the ribbon cutting is, but what the township has been able to do on Southgate Parkway. There are so many examples of supporting the kinds of activities that we hope can happen more and more in the township. And those audits, these audits help us identify where we might prioritize and make those changes. If we can move to the next page, please. We began last year to reach out to other township advisory committees and departments to develop special activities and to begin to look at the synergies that can go on between the advisory committees that the township has set up. The advisory committee system, at least from my perspective, is such a fantastic way to get people involved in the kinds of things that they may be most concerned with. The Morrison Township and Motion events this year are taking advantage of that coordination by involving the historical committee, the environmental committee, senior committee. So we're building on that cooperation, learning from each other, seeing what we can do to help the township move forward by listening, by gathering that kind of information. We were happy that we were asked to help out with the bike rodeo. We hope one's going to happen, I guess, again this year. We're looking forward to that. I can remember, I think DJ was chief adjustment bike mechanic during that. The senior club helped with the walk along the Wanaka Path last year. The head of the Environmental Commission came on, spoke to us. And we had a number of webinars that we attended, as did the mayor. Avenues in Motion had their first county gathering to gather information to support the township goals. And we've also participated primarily with the work that I've been doing at a number of state level groups like the Complete Streets Working Group and the Vision Zero Alliance and a number of other groups. So we can continually get information about what's going on around us. What's interesting about so much of the work that we hope to do in the township and elsewhere is that it's often stymied by what is at the next level of government's responsibility. The county road becomes a barrier when you want to do something, or at least a challenge to do something. The state roads, even more so. What's going on with the funding? What's going on with the grants? All of those things are ways that can either foster or block the kinds of things that a township wants to do. And moving forward to the next page. Thank you. One of the major activities that we engaged in over the last year and the year before was looking at a state enabling policy called Complete and Green Streets. This is a policy that encourages about 180 towns in New Jersey now with it, about 6 counties, I believe, that have these Complete and Green Streets policy. And basically what it says is, You are going to look at this public resource, the roadways, and the what goes along with the roadways, and make it the highest and best use it can for all road users and safe for all road users within reason, within the way in which a township wants to design what it's going to do. In some ways, the township had already been embarked on these kinds of activities with the traffic calming policy, which was passed by, which was shepherded by DJ in 21, along with the township professionals, I believe. Yeah, builds on that, builds with work that had been ongoing with the township professionals. But what a policy like this does, I think, one is outline clearly some ways in which TAC can work with the professionals. The professionals can work with TAC, as TAC being the Completing Green Streets Advisory Body. But it's also a way to say that when the membership of the committee may change, when this commitment that's been so strong by this committee may not be remembered as strongly, that it's a policy that's in place and it says, this is the way things are done in Morris Township. It's safe streets for all in Morris Township. These are the things we do in Morris Township, just what we do. Even though it may have been done and may now be done a little bit more, it's a way of ensuring for the future that what has to happen, we believe at least, and that is the balance of transportation needs is met in the future. And I won't go into detail on the policy. It is there for your review as well. And that's my very quick run through of a lot of activity that we had last year. If you take anything you want to add.
No, thanks for all your work last year and continued support this year, Jim.
Oh, happy to do it. Glad Andy's taken over. That's great. And DJ's continued. You're the original member.
And one of the original.
One of the original members of TAC. And thank you to Jeff and Donna and Siva. Good to be with you this year. Any questions for us?
Any questions from the committee?
I have comments, but I don't have questions. But
Same, I just have comments.
I just, thank you, all three of you, for all your hard work. Jim, I know we worked together closely, and DJ too when I was on TAC. I know you have a strong advocate and former Mayor Kathy Wilson, who's on to listening to your report tonight. She was a huge advocate for TAC. I remember working on her on the ordinance to create it a few years ago. But your work is so important, and I think you're seeing a lot of that work come to fruition with a lot of these projects that we're having, not just Southgate, but Normandy Parkway. Jim, I know we talked about that for a long time, and I was just reminding some of my colleagues about those public meetings about the design plan for the sidewalk. And I think I was shocked with how much fear there was about a sidewalk. And now every time I drive down Normandy Parkway, there's families going down the sidewalk. There's, people running, like getting around safely. And that's what it's all about. So thank you for all the hard work that you guys put in the background. Thank you for advising us and supporting us on investing our town dollars in these projects that are beneficial to everyone. I did just want to comment or put this on your radar. We'll be having hopefully later this year, an information session on our community center project. And I know we're going to need a lot of, input on how we're going to get residents there on Jean Street, whether it's people walking from the neighborhoods to get there, coming from Frelinghuysen, senior buses to get there. And I would love to have, some TAC members there once we get that meeting scheduled to advise us on what things we should think about. But again, thank you for all your hard work. And keep pushing us to do more.
Well, thank you. And I think we've had some limited discussion about the new community center. I know I've ridden through there and looked at some possibilities for what can happen. It's an exciting project. I'm happy to help. And thank you for mentioning Kathy Wilson and all that she did.
She's on.
Thank you, Kathy. And instrumental, by the way, in helping us get the Complete Green Streets policy across the finish line. So all thanks to her for what she's done.
I just want to echo what Committeeman Gyorfy had said. I had not had the pleasure yet of being on TAC. I look forward to doing that in years to come. What has come out of the TAC advisory group has been nothing short of outstanding for Morris Township, and I would love to see something like that done on a county-wide level. What you've done for the residents really is fantastic, and I just want to say keep up the good work. I know that there's going to be great ideas when we have residents who work and to continue to give their input, and with the guidance of the governing body, I think we can all do great things. So thank you very much, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. But there's active work at the county level trying to get a Complete Green Streets policy. The NJTPA is sponsoring a series of safety action plans that Morris County is engaged in that. I'm working on that committee, and we'll see what comes of the safety action plan in Clayton Green Streets. But the county level, the counties that have it have been able to make more progress than the counties that don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Any other?
Yeah.
Mr. Gyorfy?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for doing the Morris Township in motion, because I last year when I was still a civilian, I was on this Speedwell Avenue, Speedwell walk, and I enjoyed that very much. And this year I was one of the nearly 30 people at the Normandy Park walk. I'm going to talk a little bit about when I do my own comments, and I enjoyed that. And you really bring in the community with that and everything you do, and plus the cross pollination with the other groups like in historic preservation and environmental, and it's a model for what can be done for anybody else. Thanks.
Thank you.
Plus, I enjoy my time at TAC.
Deputy Mayor Grayzel?
I also want to thank you guys for a great presentation and the work you do. Some of the original thinking when we put together TAC was to get people out of their cars and onto their feet and bicycles and buses, now that Andy's brought that into the mix too. Just to put less cars on our roads, which has the added benefits of less air pollution, cleaner air for all of us to breathe. And there are a lot of ancillary benefits to getting people out of their cars and into the different modes of transportation. So it's really wonderful, 5 years later, seeing all of these things really come to fruition. So thank you guys for that. And I also wanted to remind the public, that these three gentlemen sitting before us are volunteers that are just giving their time to make Morris Township a better place for all of us. So I really wanted to just thank you and the other members at TAC, as well as all the other advisory committees that we have, for really stepping up to lead the committee, doing the good work that really benefits all of us. So thank you for that.
Thanks very much.
And not only that, it's been a pleasure for me to have worked with all of you, and Andy did after Jim. You came in and stepped up, and you've done a great job. And I just have to say, especially these three, but the whole Transportation Advisory Committee, when called upon by whether it's Parks and Rec or any other of the standing committees, they jump up and volunteer. Andy just came out to the Try Harder Triathlon, which was put on by Parks and Rec, and it was a rainy, drizzling, 8:30 in the morning event to start, or 7:30 even, right? And they were there, so we really appreciate that support. You guys really do an outstanding job, and thank you so much.
Well, thanks to all of you. Thanks for setting the path and allowing us to work on it.
And you're certainly welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but please don't feel obligated if you have to be somewhere else. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for a good report.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We have one ordinance for public hearing and adoption on tonight's agenda.
Is there submarines?
Madam Clerk, please read the title of ordinance
Our reading is
20-24 into the record, and we will then open the public hearing.
Ordinance 20-24, an ordinance amending Chapter 88 entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2A, Section 88-2A2, and Schedule 2, handicapped parking spaces. No handicapped parking space. New handicapped parking space.
We will take comments from in-person attendees first and then switch over to Zoom. Please virtually raise your hand in Zoom to indicate if you would like to speak. May I have a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance number 20-20?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Seeing no members of the public and no hands raised, is there someone who would like to make a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number 20-24?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion or any questions? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Mr. Gyorfy.
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada,
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Mayor Guariglia.
Yes. I, Donna J. Guariglia, Mayor, declare ordinance number 20-24 approved and adopted and direct the Township Clerk to publish proper notice thereof in the official newspaper. We have one ordinance for introduction on tonight's agenda. Madam Clerk, please read. Oh, wait, we did this, right? About
21-24.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
please read the title of ordinance 21-24 into the record.
Ordinance 21-24, an ordinance of the Township of Morris, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, approving the financial agreement for tax exemption in connection with the redevelopment of Block 10401, Lot 3.01, the retail project, and Block 10401, Lot 3.06, the grocery project, in accordance with the long-term tax exemption law, NJSA 40A, 20-1, ETC, the exempt law. Note financial agreement for pilot for Lidl.
May I have a motion to introduce ordinance number 21-24?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion or any questions on this ordinance? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada,
Yes.
Mr. Gyorfy,
No.
Mr. Ravitz,
Yes.
Mayor Griglia.
Yes. The public hearing and final consideration and adoption of ordinance number 21-24 will be held Tuesday, July 30th, 2024 at 5 p.m. for a special meeting in the municipal building, 50 Woodland Avenue. We have 19 resolutions on tonight's agenda. We are going to do the first one, number 176-24 separately. May I have a motion to approve
175.
For 175.
175-24? May I have a motion to approve resolution 175-24?
We need to read
I'm
it.
sorry.
Yeah, we need to read it. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
so,
need to read the amendment.
yeah, so Mayor, there was an amendment proposed to this resolution, and then there was a further just cleanup of it. So I'll read. I know the governing body has an amended version, and there was just a few cleanup on it that are just nothing substantive. So the amendment that is proposed in the third whereas clause, it'll now read: the authority has made a representation that the proposed development will not impair the authority's ability to meet existing and reasonably foreseeable service requirements within the district. There was also the addition after there'll now be a sixth whereas clause, which will read, whereas the Township of Morris entered into a certain mutual cooperation agreement with the applicant in December 2020, which obligated the township to affirmatively support the applicant to secure any and all necessary approvals, including a water purchase application from the authority. And whereas the township believes that based on such mutual cooperation agreement, is now obligated to support the applicant's water purchase application to the authority through the passage of this resolution. And whereas the township's adoption of this resolution is strictly limited to the project located at block 23.02, lot 5, and in no way obligates the township to approve any further requests related to water purchase applications to the authority of any other developers. And whereas the township's adoption of this resolution should not be considered the township's acquiescence and or acceptance of the authority's representation that capacity exists for this project or any future project. So Mayor, I think we need a motion to amend the resolution as just proposed.
So first, is there a motion to approve the amendment of resolution 175-20?
Yes, I approve the amendment. Right, is that the right wording? I approve the amendment, or I propose that we approve the amendment, or I move the amended resolution as read into the record. What's the appropriate?
A motion to amend the resolution as proposed. Is there a motion to amend the resolution as proposed?
I make a motion to amend the resolution as proposed with the language that Mr. Cantor just read into the record.
Second.
Now,
Is there any discussion?
Is there any discussion or any questions?
I would support the amendment. the amended language.
Okay, and then you just need a roll call, Mayor.
Madam Clerk,
and then-
may I have a roll
sorry.
call vote?
So
And this
then,
is
then
just
do we
voting-
have to vote on the actual,
Yes,
This is
this,
just the amendment.
this is just voting the amendment language, and then we're voting on the amendment,
yes.
correct?
In
Okay.
case because it is possible that a committee member would rather have the original language, and then first we have to determine whether or not there's a consensus to amend it, and then we'll see if there's a consensus to approve it.
So we have a motion and a second. And any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Grayzel,
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Mr. Gyorfy.
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada.
Yes.
Mayor Griglia.
Yes. Now may I have a motion to approve the amended resolution 175-24?
So moved.
I'll second that. I would like to make a comment.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. So I thank you for agreeing to the amendments to this resolution. I just want to make one point that there's language in there, the last whereas clause, it says, whereas the township's adoption of the resolution, the second to last whereas clause, whereas the township's adoption of this resolution is strictly limited to, excuse me. It was the last whereas clause. Whereas the township's adoption of the resolution should not be considered the township's acquiescence and or acceptance of the authority's representation that capacity exists for this project or any future project. I just want to go on record that, based on the representations that we have received from SMC MUA, I personally am not feeling confident that we do have the capacity. It's possible that we do, but I am still looking forward to receiving additional information from SMC MUA to assure not only us, but the other 3 municipalities that the appropriate capacity does in reality exist for this project. But I do support this resolution because we are obligated under the mutual cooperation agreement to support this. But I am hopeful that SMC MUA will provide all 4 municipalities with the additional information so that we can move forward confidently, knowing that we have enough capacity in the system.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments? Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Jonnada.
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel.
Yes.
Mr. Gyorfy.
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Mayor Griglia.
Yes. And now, can I please have a motion to approve resolutions number 176-24 through 193-24 by one motion?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Gyorfy.
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada.
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel.
Yes.
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Mayor Griglia.
Yes. We have 2 items on the consent calendar this evening. Can I have a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar by one motion?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Consideration of monthly reports. The following reports are on file in the office of the Township Clerk and Township Administrator: the June 2024 Tax Department and the Morris Township Library. Can I have a motion to approve the monthly reports?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Claims for payment. The total amount of bills and vouchers for this meeting is $10,084,885.17. We are also the tax collector for the school district, the library, and the county. May I have a motion to approve the list of bills and vouchers?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Ravitz.
Yes.
Mr. Jonnada.
Yes.
Mr. Grayzel.
Yes.
Mr. Gyorfy.
Yes.
Mayor Griglia.
Yes. At this time, standing committee reports and general commentary will be provided by each township committee member, and we'll start with Committeeman Jonnada.
Thank you, Mayor. For my committee highlights, I just want to say the Environmental Commission is starting to look into community composting. As such, I attended the Summer Compost Cafe at Princeton at the Dinky Bar. It was hosted by the New Jersey Composting Council. That's an actual group. And we spoke about all things rotten. I asked about community composting, and they said that there were state and federal grants available, which we'll certainly look into. And in addition, the Green Team has continued to collect data sets for renewal of sustainable Jersey bronze level. And they're also developing a web page for the on the township website. In terms of TAC, we just heard about that. As I mentioned, they had the walking tour at Normandy Park held in June 29th. It was well attended with about 30 people. It was hosted by Carol Barkin of the Historic Preservation Commission, since Normandy Park is one of our historical districts. And we also walked along the new sidewalk, and we also walked along on the other side where there was no sidewalk. And Carol Barkin had gave a brief history of every part of the all the older dwellings. Some of them don't exist anymore, and she told us why. Some were burnt down, some were just knocked down. But among the sites were 11 Oaks, Featherly Estates, and Fair Acres. And a historic plaque will be installed on Normandy Parkway near Madison Avenue. So when anybody who wants to walk there, there's a marker for them to see. And another walk was done this past weekend, but it was not as well attended. Only 2 people aside from the host. One of them was me, the other was my son, but we still had a good time. And if you want to know some things about who our streets are named after, that's a nice walk to go to. So if you want to know who Harder was for Harder Road, or Mr. Kemble was for Mount Kemble, that's the host will tell you all about that. And future walks are going to be in my neighborhood in Jones Woods, and later on Jockey Hollow Top. And at Lawanica, there's going to be a senior walk in August. And in September, I think we're going to have one in Fairchild. And the Traction Line will have a bike ride. And finally, at the first Morris, we held the first Morris Township Pride event on June 30th. Committeeman Bud Ravitz was the MC. He'll tell us more about it. But I was more impressed by the keynote speaker, Dean Daffis, who is the former mayor of Maplewood and current councilman. He gave a very moving speech about his personal journey through his life, and then as a public servant, as the first openly gay person elected official in New Jersey. And normally I talk about local neighborhoods, but I want to address the recent bouts of political violence. The recent assassination attempt has shocked many of us, and right now the motives of the shooter is still not known. But what is known is that political rhetoric has recently increased and has increasingly been heated, where we go from figurative demonization to literal demonization. I mean, historically, Americans have always been argumentative. America is a land of dichotomies. Some mistake them for contradictions, but we quite often find ways to work with each other and compromise. Be it foreign or domestic issues, we find ways to speak with each other. As President Lyndon Johnson often said, let us reason together. Sometimes we change our minds, sometimes we don't, but we rarely resort to violence. One major exception was the period up to the Civil War, but that was not without attempts to try to quell the pending conflict. The war occurred because neither side could find compromise, and by the war's end, the ultimate victim was President Abraham Lincoln himself. I was reminded that Lincoln had a saying embroidered in his jacket, which he wore at his assassination. It was, "One country, one destiny." This means that we may have differences, but we as a nation, as a people, have a common future, a common destiny. In spite of our disagreements, we can and must work together. Our dichotomies are not meant to be divisive, but are 2 sides of the same coin. We should heed Lincoln's own words, "We shall nobly save or meanly lose the last best hope of earth." The ultimate choice is ours, where we decide as a people which direction we shall go. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Committeeman Gyorfy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start off by echoing Mr. Jonnada's statements. I continue to be horrified by the events that unfolded over the weekend. The assassination attempt was not just an attack on President Trump and his supporters, but it was an attack on our democracy, our democratic process, and our right to peaceful elections in this nation. We are better than this. My condolences are with the families impacted by this violence. I plead with all Americans that we abandon divisive, violent, and hateful rhetoric, and we move forward in recommitting ourselves to building a better and brighter future for all Americans. For general commentary, I did just have an inquiry for Mr. Quinn or Mayor Guariglia on, do we have a start date for Collinsville yet?
Not an official date. We're working on all their submittals and they're under review right now by NV5 and then going to our construction office for their review. So we anticipate though when we originally spoke to them, gave them the notice to proceed for the end of July.
Great.
But I don't have a definitive date until we finish up with their submittal review.
Great. So they have a motion, they have the notice to proceed.
Yeah, we issued the notice to proceed beginning of last week.
Have notices gone to the residents about the work starting?
We have not.
Okay. Thank you for that. Last month, I testified in front of the State Assembly and Senate Budget Committees in support of a bill, A4461, which is legislation that would directly impact Morris Township and more specifically the Fairchild neighborhood. For several years now, unregulated hemp products have been sold throughout New Jersey with little recourse. Having chaired our Cannabis Advisory Committee last year, I've heard directly from residents with their concerns about these sales taking place on Spiegel Avenue at multiple locations, within the close vicinity of Alfred Vale and Red Oak Schools, St. Virgil's Church, and of course, the homes of the Fairchild neighborhood. Intoxicating THC products being sold in towns without consequence, even if the town opted out of sales of cannabis products, is just wrong. These gaps in the law prevent our police from enforcing age requirements for these sales of these products and prevent our town from prohibiting their sales in sensitive areas such as school zones where they're currently being sold. Once inside one of these stores or at a gas station, you can see packages on the shelves being labeled as Rice Krispie treats, chocolate chip cookies, and brownies, which are directly targeted toward children. And these labels say that these products can have 50 milligrams of THC or more. Despite the fact that the state of New Jersey works so hard to ensure quality and safety for consumers through its landmark cannabis laws, these unregulated products are on the shelves without safety checks, quality controls, or anything else to ensure their safety for those consuming them throughout the state, regardless of the town's opted out of cannabis sales or not. It's a terrible irony that a municipality like ours, which has it well within our rights to opt out of hosting these dispensaries, has absolutely no enforcement power to stop these sales. Fortunately, the legislation I went down to Trenton to support received strong support in both chambers and is awaiting the governor's signature. The bill will protect the legislative intent of the state's cannabis laws by placing these products under the regulatory authority of the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, which is the proper regulatory authority to ensure their safety and quality for those buying them. And of course, it will ensure that these products are being sold to those of age. It also provides a statutory authority for law enforcement to now start being able to enforce the sale of unregulated intoxicating products in these places that have no business selling them to begin with. Without this common sense clarification of the law, more unregulated businesses will continue to pop up selling these products. So I urge the governor to sign this bill, and I'm looking forward to being able to make sure our residents in Fairchild can rest easy knowing that children are no longer able to buy these products without any safety checks or whatsoever. So if the governor does sign the bill, it should be able to be enforceable, I believe, in 30 to 60 days. And I know Chief Scheer also went to Trenton to support this legislation as well. Like I said, it came up during our Cannabis Advisory Committee meetings. I've heard from residents directly who live right down the street from these stores, and I appreciate all the support from the industry who've been trying to get this legislation passed. So with that, I will yield back, Mayor.
Thank you, Committeeman Gyorfy, and thank you for all your hard work on that and for going down to Trenton. And, that was really not only for us here in the township, but for everybody. We appreciate that.
Mayor?
Committeeman Ravitz.
May I ask Committeeman Gyorfy a question before we continue?
Sure.
Just for clarification. So those hemp products that are for sale, can anybody, any age, walk in and buy them? Like a 12-year-old can walk in and buy it?
Yes.
Really?
Yep. Yes, without recourse.
Without recourse?
Yep.
Wow. And is the bill, did you say it's on the governor's desk waiting to be signed? So it's been passed by both houses?
It was passed by both houses a few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago.
With overwhelming support.
And he's taken 2 weeks to sign it?
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
There was a late amendment to the bill, which allows liquor stores to sell hemp products with alcohol without being under the basically as is, and which again municipal authority. So the cannabis laws were strong, in my opinion, because every town like ours had the authority to say where these products are being sold. That's not going to be the case for drinking products with hemp. So essentially, even though we can control where cannabis retail is, theoretically, these products can be sold at any liquor store throughout the state without any oversight from the municipal authorities. And that was added to the bill, and that may be why the governor is taking his time.
So that's part of the bill that's on his desk.
Correct.
So
That was the compromise to get it through the chambers, was to support the alcohol through the liquor store lobby.
wow. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Committeeman Ravitz.
Thank you, Mayor. I just really want to applaud my colleagues on the dais. You know, oftentimes we talk the talk, but up here in Morris Township, up here on this dais, we also walk the walk, and it's really such a pleasure to be up here with such an outstanding group of individuals who do walk the walk. And I think the residents of Morris Township are very lucky to have such a thoughtful and discerning governing body. As Committeeman Jonnada had said, you know, we did have our first annual Pride event, which was held on June 30th. And, you know, for all intents and purposes, it was a big success. We did have nearly 40 people attending, and a number of them had offered to help for our second annual event, which will be bigger and better. With more advanced planning, we will have quite a substantive improvement on what we were able to do. And I'm thrilled that this is going to become an annual event. And I want to thank all those people who have come up to us afterwards and have offered to help on the planning of the second annual event. And we will start that planning toward the end of this year. We also had a successful ribbon cutting ceremony, finally, at our new basketball at court located at Ginty Field. That was a lot of fun. Please always visit the Parks and Rec website for all the latest postings about all the great things that are happening around town. And I sure do hope that people are enjoying staying cool in our pools and our concerts. And I know a few of them have been postponed due to the weather, but you know, we will get them all in, and also our movie nights. It's our pleasure to do those for you. Regarding the recent shooting in Pennsylvania, I want to be clear that I deplore and condemn political violence and violent rhetoric in all its ugly forms. It has no place in any civil discourse, period. We should all be better than this, and we should all demand better than this. When someone or some group promotes violence as a tenet of their political ideology, then should any of us be surprised when actual violence erupts? Have we not seen this play out before in all too many other shootings? Violent political rhetoric plus guns equal a recipe for actual political violence. Only one group today is calling for a ratcheting down of the violent rhetoric, while some in another group are calling for more of it. Without telling you which is which, I pose this question: which side would you rather have running our nation come November? After you think about it for a moment, ask yourself, who are you voting for or against in November? Remember that answer that you've given yourself when it's time to cast your vote in November, because that's all that matters. And as always, I'll say, let's not marginalize or demonize the people who have less political or economic power that some of us currently enjoy. Rather, let's stand up to those people who continue to profit from our division. Equal rights for all citizens doesn't diminish the rights of any other citizens. We have more in common than should ever divide us, which we will rediscover by talking to each other. And that ties directly into what happened this past weekend in Pennsylvania. Amplifying misinformation and hateful or violent rhetoric is not part of any civil society. And lastly, before I turn it over back to the mayor, remember that as you go throughout your day, to be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. because it matters. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Committeeman Ravitz, Deputy Mayor Grayzel.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd first like to acknowledge and thank Mr. Ravitz for his opening comments about the work of this committee and the walk that we do in doing the good work of Morris Township. Thank you for those kind words. For my standing committee reports, first one is EDAC, the Economic Development Advisory Committee, met last week. As a reminder, this committee meets every other month, so 6 times a year. We had a presentation from Andy Feldman of the Transportation Advisory Committee, who is here tonight, to update the EDAC members on what TAC is up to. We also discussed the EDAC initiative of creating a business sign-up form to post on our municipal website so that we can start tracking all the businesses that are cited here in our town. Our new tax assessor, Aaron Wilson, was in attendance, and I saw him taking copious notes, so I am glad to see that Aaron has hit the ground running. For police, on tonight's agenda, we appointed Carmen Piccola to the position of a special law enforcement officer. The special officers are assigned to patrolling our schools located throughout the municipality. Most, if not all, are usually retired police officers, and Officer Piccola recently retired from our own Morris Township Police Department. For sewer, on our agenda tonight was a resolution awarding a contract for the Stiles Street and Gregory Avenue Pump Station meter chambers rehabilitation. Our sewer system takes sewage flows from several other municipalities, including all of the sewage flow coming from Morris Plains. And this particular project gauges the flow through a meter so that we know exactly how much flow is coming from Morris Plains. And this project is yet another example of Morris Township continually investing in our infrastructure. The reconstruction project of Kennedy, Gregory, and Pine Tree Lane is ongoing and will be a great upgrade to the neighborhood with new sidewalks, Belgian block curbing, and upgraded drainage. This is another great example of how we're continually investing in our community to make it nicer for our residents. The construction of Overlook Road and Westminster Place should take place shortly. And I get regular inquiries about Bailey Hollow Road, so I'd just like to take this opportunity to remind the public that this road is scheduled for resurfacing at the end of the summer or early fall. So later this year, we'll have a new Bailey Hollow Road, or at least a new surface on Bailey Hollow Road. For my general commentary, I will start my commentary by adding my voice to those of my colleagues condemning the act of hatred that occurred this past weekend against former President Trump. We should all be thankful for the quick action of law enforcement who ensured the former president was safe, and we should all mourn the loss of the innocent bystander who is the father of 2 daughters. One of the organizations that I do work for personally is Jewish Federation of New Jersey, and I am on their community relations committee. One of the initiatives that I personally participate in is an interreligious group called Community Leaders Against Hate. So this is something I have actively been working on to combat. And hate comes in many forms these days, and I condemn all hate in all its forms. It has no place in modern civic society, whether it be religious hate, ethnic or racial hate, or political hate. It is up to all of us to help put an end to it. We must all call it out when we see it, and we must all report it if it is threatening to another member of our community. I believe that hate puts our democracy at risk. It is completely antithetical to how our founders designed our system, which is rooted in the idea of rigorous debate of ideas that makes our country stronger. So we all need to commit to the peaceful resolution of our differences, sometimes to agree, to respectfully disagree, and call out words and deeds that threaten violence. I'd also like to comment on the guilty verdict in the trial against New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez. I would like to add my voice to the many calling on him to resign immediately from his Senate seat. New Jersey needs proper representation in the U.S. Senate, and Senator Menendez can no longer provide adequate representation for the citizens of this state or the citizens of our country. Now for my other general commentary. I would like to congratulate the Morris Area Little League 12U team for winning the Sectional 1 finals. Way to go, boys, and good luck in the next round. And it's too bad that tonight's concert with the Hanover Wind Symphony was postponed yet a second time because of weather concerns. So let's hope that the third time's a charm. So check the website for the municipal website for the rescheduled date. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a quick update, Menendez is resigning. That just came through, so. As far as my updates, I just have a couple things. Transportation Advisory Committee, I know Committeeman Jonnada gave his updates. I also just wanted to let everybody know that we had a bus ridership inquiry, and the results of that actually did show some very low numbers, but we're going to continue to pursue more transportation options to help our seniors get around. Also, the micro-mobility challenge that we did at both our pools was a great opportunity to educate the residents on what TAC does, and we thank the volunteers for participating in that, and they're continuing to look at other places to get out some of that same information. Morristown in Motion, the Events Outreach Committee under Morristown in Motion is attending the movies and concerts, and they're actually there to give out communication from TAC to all the residents. The next event is August 17th at Jockey Hollow Top Nature Walk, and then the one after that is August 22nd, and that is for our senior walk at Wanaka, and that's a very easy one for the seniors. It's flat, and we have a lot of people there to help if they need any type of help to go on that short walk. The Complete Streets Committee will meet again with surrounding municipalities to discuss some future plans, and we'll be setting up a project with Avenues in Motion on Speedwell Avenue, along with our police department near the local business area there to inform the public of some safety best practices. Things like cars who pull up and they park their car in the crosswalk and now they're blocking part of the crosswalk. Certain things like that. And I had mentioned about the Try Harder Triathlon and the TAC volunteers. I did want to say that was the first time I got to be at that triathlon, and it is really nice to be in the chute as the runners come down and you're handing out their medals. And all of them, whether the little ones all the way up to the oldest participants, just all have smiles on their face. So that was really special. The Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, we're working on more information being distributed and continue work on communication improvements. I have to give Virginia Murphy a shout out here at Town Hall. She's been excellent to the seniors on not only updating the website, but in also getting information out for them when needed. They continue work on health resources and also on transportation. I also attended the senior luncheon at Fairchild Firehouse this week. They had a great turnout, and I have to tell you, if you get a chance, anyone else up here on the dais to attend, they have a DJ, they all do line dancing, they really have a good time. And so many, I went around to all the tables, and so many residents and non-residents are there as well, but so many of them are so appreciative of what we do for our seniors. So to your point, Committeeman Ravitz, it's just another thing that this group, I think for a long time, has been concentrating on and has done a really good job at. They are also looking into doing some type of senior resources and health fair in the spring of 2025. That's something I'm sure they'll work closely with our health department on. And at one point, we also, on the community center, we will be looking to meet with the seniors just to get their input and feedback on some of the things they would like to see there. As far as my commentary, I want to give a lot of credit to Committeeman Ravitz. I was at the Pride event, and not only did Committeeman Ravitz, he was the one who did the proclamation, and he brought this to our attention and with our support. But in a very short period of time, we put together a great event, and we were surprised at how well a turnout we had.
Thank you, Mayor.
And the amount of people that came up and said they want to be part of that going forward.
Thank you.
You did a great job on that. The one other thing I want to mention a little bit too, because for all of our residents, of course, you've already heard, but you'll be hearing more of us. I just want to let you know as mayor, I've been attending every webinar and session I can on the affordable housing. We have a small mayor group that we also get together. We've all been looking for good governance and bipartisan support around reasonable laws to help guide us through this process. The obligations should be achievable so that housing can be affordable and follows the best practices, not only here in the U.S. and other parts of the country we might see, but also internationally. We can learn a lot. We will, at some point, we will be holding some kind of public meeting for residents to learn more about the process and you will have the chance to ask us questions as we move forward on that. And then I just wanted to mention that today, Business Administrator Tim Quinn, our engineer Jim Slate, and I, we did attend a meeting in Hanover to hear about a documentary that they're putting together with other municipalities on the Whippany-Passaic River flood remediation. They've created a task force, and we will continue to consider whether or not we want to join the shared services agreement they have as they put together and help to try to de-snag the Whippany River. There is a lot more to it, and I know both our engineer and Mr. Quinn have some comments after we attended it, but it is something that we all want to support. They did get federal funding, and they're looking forward to doing some more there. The last thing I want to say, I had the opportunity, especially over the last week, to spend some time at Streeter Pool near me. My grandkids have been visiting. And again, I just have to also give the Township and Parks and Rec a shout out. The staff at both the pools, they're amazing. They're doing a really good job. It's not always easy to keep everything going, but my grandkids had a ball. And if you have anyone in your family, whatever age, especially with this heat, try to get over to the pools and use them. They're really a great asset for us. So other than that, I think it's time. We have 5 members in the public joining us on Zoom. We will now open the meeting to the second public comment portion for general commentary. We'll take comments from in-person attendees first and then switch over to Zoom. Please virtually raise your hand on Zoom if you would like to speak. Please state your name and address for the record before speaking. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes. If you have questions you would like answered, the remaining time to speak will be yielded back for this purpose. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Seeing no members of the public and seeing no hands raised on Zoom, is there?
Ms. Member.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Memmer?
Yes, sorry about that. Last minute thought. In regards to the Cannabis Advisory Committee, was there a final report on that, and where can I find that?
Website.
Yes, there was a final report, and it is up on the Township website.
Under that committee, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And good evening
You're
to all.
Thank you very much. Pamela Watson? Pamela? Maybe check.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Pamela Watson. I reside at 2 Corey Road, Unit D, Morris Township. I know the last meeting I attended, you guys were going to be having a meeting to get a date on when, I guess, the renovation would start for Collinsville Playground. And in the meeting, you said it was going to begin in the fall, but then you were going to meet with the factors. Are they also agreeing in the fall?
Mr. Quinn?
Ms. Watts, I misunderstood your question and also from Mr. Gyorfy last meeting as to the actual start date. I thought that was the date that they had to get going by, but it's been anticipated they will be starting at the end of July.
Oh, it is? Okay. Because when I first heard that it was going to start in the fall, I thought that we would at least be able to have a summer concert in August, but it's getting ready to start at the end of this month. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We issued them the notice to proceed earlier last week, and we're waiting for some submittals. And once they get the approvals, that they will be able to begin the work up there, and we're hopefully that they'll be there before the end of July.
Okay, great. Thank you. Because I did reach out to Bill at Parks and Rec. I'm on that committee to see if we could have a concert in July if it was going to be in the fall, but I did reach out to him again, let him know that's not going to be possible. Okay. But
I believe he did. I believe he sent you back an email on that.
And Pamela, once, going forward, that is the reason we didn't have any concerts or anything put over in the Collinsville area.
Yes. I figured there wouldn't be any concerts this year
Correct.
there because the renovation, but I thought it was going to start in the spring or the summer. So it's going to start in the summer at the end of this month. So thank you very much for that information.
And we certainly will look to put concerts or movies or something over there next summer when it's completed. Is Mrs. Memmer's hand raised again, or is she just never?
Still, Mayor, I'd make a motion to close the second public portion.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The time is now 8:25. Can I have a motion to adjourn the regular session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? The next time that we will convene, and this is a little bit different, is on Tuesday, July 30th, 2024 at 5 p.m. for a special meeting. The next regular Township Committee meeting will be Wednesday, August 21st, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Building, 50 Woodland Avenue. Both meetings are in person and with a courtesy Zoom link. We are adjourned.
Smack.